Hi, my dearest family. Today we are going to be talking about the upcoming new moon that is going to be taking place on 18th of January on 28 degree of Capricorn. And this is actually a super nice new moon. It is in trine to Uranus. The dispositor of this new moon is Saturn, which is actually in almost an exact sextile to the new moon. And we are going to be even talking about a few asteroids. This new moon tightly conjuncts Austria and Diana, also Mercury and Mars, and squaring Phaeton in the sign of Aries. So there is a lot to break down here, and this time around I'm going to be breaking this down for the 12 signs as well. So I recommend listening to the first part where I'm going to give you a detailed description of how this energy play out. And then at the second part, I'm going to be giving you a short description for all 12 signs. Now, I also have got an announcement to make. I'm going to have a very exciting webinar coming up, and that's going to be about relationship. We're going to be looking at the seventh house and its ruler, what type of relationship experiences you will have, what type of partner you will attract, and why you are attracting them. So if you would like to check that out, then go on my website, AstroViktor.com, and then you can sign up for this very exciting webinar. But let's get going with this new moon. So this new moon is taking place on January 18th, 2026 in the sign of Capricorn on 28th degree. Now, a new moon is when the moon is positioned between the earth and the sun and illuminating like with its illuminated side facing away from us. So this makes the moon pretty much invisible in the night sky. So, from an astrological point of view, this is about planting seeds. This is about new beginnings. And in the sign of Capricorn, of course, this could be a time when we are setting intentions around career, legacy, and achievements. Now, this new moon is taking place in the very final decan or dwad of the sign, which often emphasizes those themes of legacy, long-term structure, the culmination of the hard work, actually because it occurs so late in the sign, just before the moon transitions into Aquarius, it feels like it's kind of like critical. There is a sense of urgency around it. It focuses on finishing a major cycle, of course, before we step into something entirely new, because the moon is going to be shifting alongside with the sun into the sign of Aquarius. Now, this new moon is ruled by Saturn, which is in a sextile to this new moon. So that's highly beneficial, actually. And I would look at if you have got any planets between 26 to 29 degree of the cardinal signs, meaning Capricorn, Cancer, Aries, or Libra, because then this new moon is going to be pretty much of a reset button for you in the upcoming 6 months at least. By the way, this new moon is also called as a blueprint moon. So this could indicate, for example, it's a perfect time to map out the tangible steps that are required to reach your goals. So now let's just look at the aspects. Like I said, we've got a trine to Uranus. We've got a sextile to Saturn. We've got a tight conjunction to Mercury and Mars as well. And also we've got Austria, Diana, and the square to Phaeton. But mostly we have got very beautiful aspect patterns. So it means that the sky is achievable. Uranus says that. Uranus is the innovator. While Uranus is retrograde, the energy is a little bit more reflective. You aren't just changing for the sake of the change. You are refining, for example, a brilliant idea. Maybe you have had that for at least 5, 6 months. Uranus wants you to upgrade something. So it wants you to upgrade your long-term plans. Now, the sun and moon aren't alone. They are traveling pretty much in a very tight connection with that Mercury and Mars as well. So there's a conjunction to Mars, and this gives a bit of a hunger to this new moon. It's kind of like I'm gonna bite into something. It's not just about setting intentions, it's about having that drive and stamina to be able to bring them to manifestation. And then we've got Mercury there, which is about mental clarity. And it really feels like we are at the peak of that. So we might want to sign a contract. We want to do the final negotiations. We are ready to draft a contract as well. Now, that sextile to Saturn, that's super critical because that's the planetary ruler of this new moon. And basically, Saturn is giving us the green light. That's the boss. And it says, go ahead. Why not? Work extremely hard towards your dreams because I'm going to help you to make it happen. It gives you the structure that you need to be able to build something. It's kind of like a cosmic seal of approval. And it gives the durability for it as well. So I pretty much love that for you. Even some would consider, a trine to Sedna as well, which is, by the way, on 0 degree of Gemini. So that could, if you are looking at it, Sedna is a trans-Neptunian object, and this would add a layer of like evolutionary process. It's an evolutionary necessity to your goals. And maybe it feels like that you're finally stepping into this path that you were meant to be on, that you were destined to do. So I pretty much love that. It's an out of sign trine, of course, but I wanted to mention because the moon's next aspect is going to be Sedna. So that's why it could be pretty important. By the way, Sedna entered the sign of Gemini in mid 2023, and then it had a retrogression back into the sign of Taurus, but it moved into Gemini for good around April 2024. So it is still on 0 degree of Gemini. It's an extremely slow moving object, but Moon is going to be connecting to that. Great. So I think what is like actually a new moon? What is this Capricorn new moon about? Let's call it as the moon of the architect. This moon is not necessarily about dreaming or feeling. This is about building something. This is one of the most grounded, disciplined, ambitious lunation of the year. And I would say that it's kind of like day one, pretty much. So if you haven't made any New Year resolution, this could be the day when you should be making one because this is a super good for that. Now, the themes are mastery and maturity. So Capricorn is ruled by Saturn, which is the planet of timing, structure, karma. This moon is not necessarily interested in quick fixes or overnight success. It's more pragmatic. It is asking questions such as like, does it actually work? Do I like this? It is making the necessary emotional distance to make these tough strategic decisions. This new moon is focusing on sustainability. It is focusing on things that will still be standing like in 10 years' time, for example. So we are focusing on our long-term goals. Now, Capricorn also carries the theme of timing, legacy, and reputation. So you need to be thinking about how you want to be remembered. Kind of like what mountain are you currently climbing? And maybe it's time to start saying no to things that drain your time so you can say yes to your primary goal or primary goals. And obviously, that goal is going to be dependent on the house position that the new moon is falling into. With that trine to Uranus in Taurus, this may be a time for us to find innovative ways to secure your wealth, your physical property. It's kind of like, okay, I'm going to sign up for an insurance just to make sure that my material assets are safe. This new moon, though, falls on kind of like a critical part of the chart. It's almost on 29 degree. So it can feel like it's a graduation. This isn't just about starting a new project. You have gained a lot of wisdom. You are trying to apply all the hard lessons you've learned over the last several years, and then now we are ready to master something here. This carries this energy of like now or never, when it comes to your ambitions. So, what I really recommend is because this is about tangible results, you can do a bit of a ritual. And if you do ritual, choose certain type of physical objects and be very clear about it. Set a goal for 2026, write down exactly what you will do in January, February, March, and so forth. And then make sure that you plan things out step by step. How are you going to achieve that biggest goal of your life? Um, I would say that this new moon would be about having to find a time for yourself or having to remove certain type of blockages in your life that is holding you back from any type of success. Because there is a trine to Uranus and it is giving you the opportunity to actually walk away or liberate yourself from certain type of shame karmic packages. Now, the other thing that is very interesting, like I said, is Saturn sextile to the new moon. And even though the North Node is not involved, but it is also in the sign of Pisces, which means that we have got a lot of mastering to do in the sign of Pisces, right? So the Saturn is the ruler of this new moon, and it suggests that the work you are doing is actually feeding into your karmic destiny. And that's the North Node there. It's kind of like the feeling of being at the right time, right place. So this is really about going towards your long-term structures. Some would consider a square to Chiron as well. I mean, it's a 6 degree. It could be considered. Chiron is the wounded healer. So this square might trigger some old kind of like I'm not capable enough or I don't have the right to lead type of wounds or I'm not good enough type of stuff. But this Capricorn moon is pushing you to be that authority. While Chiron in Aries might make you feel like, I'm weak, I'm imposter. So, the goal here is that no matter what, you're going to have to lead despite these insecurities. And I think that's super important here. Um, the other thing which stands out in this chart is, of course, this Pluto-Vesta conjunction, which says it's a laser focus. I have to be able to focus on my future. Yes, it's not necessarily connecting to the new moon, but I wanted to touch base on that because Vesta was the very first who started paving the path in the sign of Aquarius, of course, apart from Pluto. And now the moon and the sun will come up as well. And then we're going to have these new cycles happening with Vesta also. So that's the reason why I just wanted to very briefly talk about that. Also, this new moon is squaring Eris, which is actually about to go direct. I mean, it's just gone direct. So Aries, which is the planet of discord and upheaval, it is making actually a tight square to this new moon, but also Mercury and Mars as well. And the good thing about it can create this warrior mentality. You can feel a strong urge to speak up against a status quo, something that no longer fits you. What's also very interesting is that we have got an asteroid called Harmonia in an exact opposition to the new moon. So it's in the sign of Cancer, but it retrograded from Leo and then it went back into the sign of Cancer. So Harmonia is about harmony, as the name suggests. So it says that, we have to be finding harmony. We have to be balancing our public ambitions, though, with our private needs as well. So this is not necessarily just about work, 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 work 24/7, but we're going to have to practice a bit of a self-care as well. Now, but the dispositor Saturn is so close to Neptune, but Neptune is about to be shifting into the sign of Aries, which I'm going to be making a separate video about. But this is really about making my dreams come true. This is the entire 2026 signature anyway. It's going to be about Saturn, Neptune. So this new moon is pretty much now a little bit highlighting and spotlighting our potentials, what our dreams are. And yes, some dreams need to be eliminated. Some dreams need to be said goodbye to, but some are super realistic, and we're gonna have to make sure that we go towards it. So I really love that. Now, what else do I have got to say? Oh, the other thing actually I can see that this Saturn is pretty close still to an asteroid called Nessus. And Nessus has been in the sign of Nessus is around 24-degree Pisces currently, or sorry, 22nd. Okay, hold on. Let me just double check that because it just came to my mind that Nessus is so close. I'm just gonna put in. But I wanted to quickly touch base on Nessus as well, and I'm gonna tell you why. Well, one of the reasons I wanted to touch base on it because Saturn and Nessus, or Neptune and Nessus, has been traveling together for a while. Well, sorry, it's an 18 degree, so it's not necessarily there anymore. Um, but, at the end of the day, Nessus is very much about breaking generational cycles, addressing where we have been abused. And having Saturn nearby, it really feels like that we do have got the chance to break some generational cycles here, and we can turn something into healing rather than just feeling it super overwhelming as well. So I would say that Nessus is still important here because Nessus is pretty much on the midpoint between North Node and Saturn. Nessus, by the way, is going to be changing sign only in 2032, so it's an extremely slow planetary energies. And even though Saturn and Neptune are leaving, but Nessus is going to stay there, so we're going to have a little bit more, work to be done in our Pisces part of our chart. So now what I was going to say is that with this new moon, it really feels like that the most important part is to set intentions, to look forward towards the future, to look at your own fears, because fears can paralyze us. Realize that your dreams are actually mega good and then make the necessary steps towards it. So I must say that, I have nothing pretty much bad to say here. But like I said, we've got a couple of asteroids that we might want to look at. But before actually we do that, I wanted to touch base on that Vesta-Pluto conjunction a little bit more. Because Vesta is about devotion, and makes a conjunction to Pluto, which is the planet of power. And it's in the sign of Aquarius, which will talk to us about wanting to reform the system. So while this new moon is focusing on a master plan, we are focusing on the master plan because we are trying to revolutionize our purpose. We are trying to go towards a better future. Okay, so now we've got Australia being right on this new moon. And Australia is astrological number, by the way, is 5, if you would like to look it up where it is. In mythology, Australia was the last of the immortals to live among humans during the Golden Age. She is the star maiden of justice, purity, and she stayed until the very end. And then she returned back to heaven. So, one hand, Australia stayed. it represents in our chart where we have got the tendency to stay in situation long after others have left. And maybe this Australia is telling us that you finally see the end of a long-term commitment or certain type of struggle. It really feels like that this new moon isn't just about building wealth, but it's about building something that is meant to be or that is right. Because Australia always demands integrity. Australia in karmic astrology is considered a karma breaker. So that's why I wanted to touch base on Nessus as well, which is generational karma and how the ancestry line got abused. Because Australia echoes pretty much the same, but we're gonna have to do what's right now. Australia acts like the closer here. She's helping you tie up the final loose ends of a project or a life chapter so that you can step into this Aquarius Pluto era with a cleaner consciousness, pretty much. Um, and the other asteroid that we've got involved here is Diana. And she is a hunter archetype. She wasn't tamed at all. She never allowed anyone to tame her, basically. Diana is independent, is fiercely protective of her boundaries. She is very sharp-eyed. Obviously, if she's a huntress, then she has to be able to see the prey, right? And it's on energetic degree, 29 degrees, so she adds a layer of ruthless focus here. While Australia wants justice, Diana wants to kill. So she's here to help you hit the bullseye on the goal you have been, thinking of or stalking pretty much for years. And then there is a square to Phaeton in the sign of Aries, which is on 28 degree of Aries. And Phaeton, in mythology, Phaeton lost control of the sun chariot because he couldn't handle the horse's power. So a square from Aries to your Capricorn master plan is a warning. It says, don't let these sudden surge of Mars-driven ambition make you skip steps. Because if you go too fast, you try to drive that chariot before you are ready, you risk a crash, you risk a burnout. So that's the only little danger that we've got around this new moon. Now, we've got the new moon, so let's have a look at how this might be playing out for each rising sign. So I'm going to start with Aries. So Aries, you have got quite a stellium in your 10th house. It feels like that this is a professional hunt, like it's a job hunt, where Diana and Australia ensure you hit your target and you receive the justice, that you deserve, for example, in your career. Yes, this might be talking to you about having to kind of stand up for yourself as well, but it also says that you are at the peak of your power. I mean, you have got Phaeton in your first house, and that's a bit of a warning against impulsiveness or self-sabotage, or it tells you not to let your ego drive the chariot kind of off the road just as you reach that summit. So Mercury in your 10th house says have the tactical mind. Mars says have the drive to redefine your legacy, to plan towards success rather than failure. And then, of course, we've got the Vesta and Pluto in your 11th house, which is really demanding this sacred devotion to reform your goals or to involve even friends as well. This is not just a solo act. You are a leader. How I'm going to be stepping into this leadership position as well. And we've got the North Node and, of course, Saturn in the 12th house, which reminds you that true authority comes from that, it's the inner quiet, not just the outer noise. Nurture your independence, but don't let, the heat kind of burn you up. This is about finishing a long climb, stay focused, on what you want to achieve. But, Diana is like the huntress with an arrow. So don't do it with the speed of the arrow. It tells you just to be planning, to be careful, to plan for that success. Taurus rising sign. So this is going to be happening in your ninth house, while you have got Phaeton in your 12th house, and then of course the Vesta Pluto conjunction is in your 10th house. So Australia and Diana in your ninth house bring you that sharp, maybe it's a conclude like a sharp eye. Maybe this is a conclusion to a legal, educational, or even spiritual journey. Maybe you have been looking for a certain type of a truth, or you are gaining more wisdom, and this new moon might allow you to capture it. However, Phaeton squaring from your 12th house suggests that there are hidden anxieties or self-undoing patterns, and that could cause you to crash if you don't stay grounded. This is about building a new philosophical blueprint, but you must ensure that, your chariot is basically fueled by reality, not necessarily just wanting to escape from something. And and Pluto in your 10th house might indicate an intense transformation of your career, or you are getting obsessed with building a legacy that reflects your radical values. And maybe this is the reason why you want to start a new course. For example, you've got the eye on a course, right? With this new moon, because you want to be building a legacy. The North Node and Saturn are in your 11th house, and this might be bringing some friends into your life, which feels destined, but they are going to be supporting this new authoritative version of yourself, or this idea of you studying, publishing a book, relocating, traveling, and so forth. It really feels like that it's kind of like it's your graduation into a master role, into a teacher role. But potentially you're gonna have to, kind of like control your mind a little bit, because we can really, Mars and Mercury there. So that's a really sharp mind, and that could get the mind a little bit faster. Gemini rising sign. Let's have a look at what's happening for you. So, Gemini rising sign, this new moon is going to be taking place in your eighth house, while Phaeton is in the 11th and the Vesta Pluto conjunction is in your ninth house. So, this new moon with Diana and Astrea in your eighth house is about kind of like a surgical strike on your debts, intimacy, shared resources, psychological shadows as well. Maybe you are ready to kind of get out of an emotional entanglement. You are ready to kind of become or settling a financial contract, for example. But Phaeton squaring from your 11th house warns you not to let you like the social pressures, or kind of like certain type of fast projects, a group, distract you from this deep internal work that you need to be going through, because it really feels like that this is a purification for you right now. But it also tells you that you cannot rush the transformation. The eighth house is the death and rebirth process. And with Capricorn, there it does take a longer period of time. Vesta and Pluto in your ninth house suggest that you are very devoted to this change. You are devoted to a radical, maybe new educational or spiritual path. It feels like, for example, that it's a sacred mission of me to relocate. The ninth house, it's a fiery house, and it gives you a bit of a motivation to go towards something, while the eighth house is going to tell you how it should be done. And maybe it gives you the fire to study something so that you can have a better career, for example. And that would be coming from your north node in the 10th house, because it's pulling your career towards a more compassionate, visionary role. Remember, Ceres is playing a role here as well, which is in your 11th house. And this shows that your true nurturance comes from independence. When you are making brave but new social connections, potentially you are cutting ties with the past so that you can drive kind of like your chariot towards this higher, more involved or evolved truth of yourself or truth of your own vision. So good luck, Gemini rising sign. And let's move on to Cancer. Cancer, you've got a massive stellium in your seventh house. This is being squared by Phaeton in the 10th house. And you've got the Vesta Pluto conjunction in your eighth. So we have got Diana and Australia in your seventh house, bringing this super sharp focus to your closest partnership, or you want to get the justice when it comes to certain type of contractual agreements, partnership. You know, Diana is a hunter, so we are hunting for a connection that potentially matches our long-term goals, matches our integrity. Maybe you are ready to finalize a business alliance. Maybe you have got these eyes, like these clear eyes, set on the long-term results as well. Now, Phaeton squaring from your 10th house, that warns you against letting your career ambitions and potentially certain type of public pressure move you too fast in your private negotiations. Like imagine that you are about to be signing a new contract and you are kind of like desperate, and then you don't overlook the details of that contract, or you go for the very first job that you get without considering other opportunities. So Vesta and Pluto is in your eighth house, which is, of course, a very intense focus. And that focus is on shared power, intimacy, and money as well. Potentially, you want to be reclaiming your own power. While you have got the North Node in the ninth house, which is encouraging you to expand your horizon, trust your spiritual path, trust the spiritual path of your partnership as well. And then you've got Ceres in your 10th house, which means that you want to take care of your career reputation, or having a career is actually nurturing your sense of self-worth. It looks like that you are learning that a stable partnership is the only thing that can keep your chariot on the road when you are about to be climbing your professional ladder. Leo rising sign, you've got a massive stellium in your sixth house. Phaeton is in your ninth, and the Vesta Pluto conjunction is in your seventh. So this new moon with Diana and Australia in your sixth house is kind of like, yeah, I'm gonna reboot my health. I'm going to be rebooting something around the daily work system that you have implemented, potentially trying something new out. Of course, because this new moon is being tried by Uranus as well, it could represent certain type of new ways of working too. Maybe you are looking for the perfect routine, and Australia tries to ensure that your hard work in service industry or service of others is finally recognized or well balanced as well. However, Phaeton squaring from your ninth house warns you against overpromising or getting lost in like grand philosophical theories, and that you can't actually implement on the ground. It says stay focused on these tangible Capricorn details rather than, with the Aries big idea, and that might burn you out. Vesta Pluto in your seventh house indicate that there is a sacred transformation happening in your relationships. Maybe you are very devoted to a partner who might be a catalyst for your own personal evolution. The seventh house intensity provides most likely the fuel for your sixth house discipline. So the partner is encouraging you. Yes, you can do this. Why not? We've got the North Node involved in this as well, and that is very much about like it's pulling you towards a deeper trust, a deeper intimacy, a deeper trust in your own abilities as well as shared resources. And you've got Ceres in the ninth house, which suggests that travel or higher study is something that you have been considering, or it would give you that emotional sanctuary. Maybe you kind of feel like that I want to travel somewhere, I want to be relocating, I want to go on a holiday. Or simply you are perfecting your craft so that you can be powerful and pretty much kind of like building a reliable foundation in the upcoming year. Virgo rising sign, we've got a stellium in your fifth house, and this is being squared by Phaeton in your eighth house, and you have got the Vesta Pluto conjunction in your sixth. I mean, this new moon with Diana and Australia in your fifth house is pretty much you setting your eye on a creative project, on a romantic intention. Maybe you are trying to enjoy life a little bit more, but with a precision, like a hunter, does, when I shoot the arrow that has to land at the right, place. However, Phaeton squaring from your eighth house warns you against taking reckless financial or emotional risks because you want to be funding some of your creative dreams. It says, be careful because you can crash the chariot by getting entangled in debts or power struggles or even the trust issues, when you don't have the confidence, for example, to go towards this new romantic connection, and the eighth house can kind of like destroy that. Vesta and Pluto in your sixth house is really kind of an obsession with your physical health or upgrading something in your professional world as well. But that sixth house purge is what allows your fifth house creativity to be potent, to be grounded. You've got North Node in the seventh house, which is an indication that I want to be pulled towards a soulful, committed partnership, or I want to introduce certain type of growth, a stronger emotional connection, for example, within your existing partnership. And you have got series in your eighth house currently, which is about you want to get nurtured in a private meta, or you want to go through this transformative self-mastery. You might be realizing that true play requires a disciplined lifestyle, and I need to have this clear-eyed view on the need of transformation or of my own talent and resources. Libra rising sign, you've got a massive stellium still in your fourth house, while Phaeton is in your seventh, and you've got this Vesta Pluto conjunction in your fifth. So this new moon is with Diana and Australia in your fourth house, and that is kind of like finding the resolution to a home environment or a family meta. Imagine that you have been looking for like someone who can fix up your roof or the home or the foundation of the home, and you finally, can find this person. But it can be a family matter as well. It's about you securing your territory. Maybe you have gone through certain type of domestic challenges, and this new moon is requiring you to go for the emotional and physical safety. Phaeton squaring from the seventh house warns you against letting a partner or external conflicts drive you too fast or kind of like disrupting your domestic peace as well. It is reminding you that you shouldn't be letting anyone or anyone else take the reins of your chariot and cause a crash in your private life. So, in a way, how much does a partnership affect my internal peace? Western Pluto in your fifth house is very focused on some creative vision or changing our romantic life. There is that little fire going on in that fifth house, which is an internal motivation to keep your fourth house foundation strong and secure. So it might be a realization that the partnership is actually causing me certain type of emotional turmoil. And then you've got the North Node in the sixth house, which is really much pulling you towards a daily spiritual integrity or service. Series in your seventh house means that your partner are the primary source of that emotional food that you are craving for. So, for example, I want to get respected by others. It's kind of like you are building a home that can support your personal revolution, something that you would like to share with others. Scorpio rising sign. You have got this stellium in your third house, while Phaeton is in your sixth, and the Vesta-Pluto conjunction is in your fourth. I mean, this new moon with Diana and Astrea in your third house is kind of like starting, for example, a writing project, or you are ready to go for a contractual agreement, or you are setting certain type of communication goals. You are trying to speak with more precision or more integrity. And maybe you are ready to go towards studying something so that you can improve your long-term skills. Phaeton squaring from the sixth house might be warning you against rushing the work or, over stretching your physical body to meet certain type of deadlines. If you try to drive the chariot of your daily routine too fast, then your health or your health projects might have to be paying the price for it. Now that Western Pluto in your fourth house pretty much shows us that there is a intense inner transformation happening in your, like within yourself, within your home, within your family patterns. It looks like that there is this fourth house deep cleaning that needs to be done, and it's gonna give you that third house worth such weight and power that you can become invincible. So maybe we are talking about bravery here, which is often associated with the third house as well, by the way, that we need to be able to learn to be brave to express our emotions, for example, towards family members. Maybe this is about you finding your voice by first mastering some of your, like daily schedule, which can be kind of like a wild horse at the moment because there might be too much going on your plate. Sagittarius rising, you've got this massive stellium happening in your second house, while Phaeton is in your fifth, Vesta Pluto conjunction in your third. So this new moon with Diana and Astrea in your second house is about pretty much hunting down financial opportunities or creating financial security. There is this bullseye on your income goals. So it's about creating your own financial legacy, but doing that with integrity as well. So you might be getting certain type of new projects that are coming your way, or you are trying to match your resources with your values as well, or you're trying to do a project that matches your values. Phaeton squaring from the fifth house warns you against taking a chance, gambling your resources, kind of like on a creative project or a fast-moving romantic endeavor. This is reminding us not to let our Aries thrill make you crash that stable Capricorn chariot you have worked so hard to build. Western Pluto in your third house is about an intense focus on how you think, how you communicate. It's about being devoted to this new mindset. Potentially, you are a creative genius right now. You might be having all these mental revolutions, and that is giving you an edge to stabilize your wealth, basically. You've got the North Node in your fourth house, which is pulling you towards home and family foundation. So potentially this might be about an investment into a property. And Ceres in your fifth house means that you find that nurturing in playing, uh, provided it stays within your boundaries, though. And maybe you are learning that true value is built step by step. And you should have the heart of the builder. You should remember that it comes with patience, but I have to be committing to it. Capricorn rising sign, we have got your stellium in your first house, that is you. We've got Phaeton in your fourth, and then the Vesta Pluto conjunction is in your second. So let's call it as a graduation new moon for you, where Diana and Astrea join your sign to give you that bullseye on your new identity. It says that I'm the huntress of my own life. I have to take the reign of the chariot, and I have to be in the driving seat. I have to receive justice for years of endurance and discipline, and then I can get the reward for it. Phaeton squaring from the fourth house might warn you against kind of burning the house down to move forward, like throwing everything out of the window. It says don't let your personal ambition disrupt your domestic roots or family peace, or you can feel like the family is holding you back from starting completely fresh. Or it can feel like that this new lifestyle or new you is somehow crashing your private life, but at the same time, I'm chasing public success as well. And of course, Western Pluto in your second house is very focused to transform or to make shifts in your finances. Maybe this is a radical new way of valuing yourself, a new way of making money as well. But the second house power shift is what fuels your first house rebirth. So what it really means is that you finding new ways of respecting yourself is going to reboot of who you are. We've got North Node in the third house, which is pulling you towards teaching or making local connections with others. While Ceres in your fourth house suggests that your home is a ultimate sanctuary. You need to be able to rest as well. I need to be practicing certain type of self-care. So you are stepping into a new version of yourself, but you're gonna have to be cleaning out your house basically a little bit. Like what is holding me back internally, what my fears are. Aquarius rising. So you're gonna have this new moon in your 12th house, a massive stellium there, while Phaeton is in your third, and Vesta Pluto conjunction is in your first. So this new moon with Diana and Astrea in your 12th is a little bit about working through certain type of subconscious matters behind the scenes. Maybe you are looking for a spiritual breakthrough. You are ready to finish a project which you have been doing for a while. And you can get the justice, you can get the reward for the internal work that no one else has seen just yet. But it really feels like that you are about to be tying up the final threads of a karmic rope, of a karmic cycle. Phaeton, squaring you from your third house, warns you against talking too fast or impulsive communications, or you let the cat out of the bag, or certain type of mental burnout as well. It pretty much suggests that you shouldn't be letting your chariot run wild in your local community or on social media uh, when your job right now is to be a little bit more in the retreat zone. Vesta and Pluto in your first house, which is your sign, it's a new beginning. This is about an intense transformation of who you are, how you present yourself. And North Node in the second house is very much pulling you towards a more like having to look at your relationship with your own money. While Ceres in your third house means that you need to be able to nurture those ideas that you've got, or you need to be kind of listening to others, or you need to speak up. You need to do those local conversations. It feels like that you are mastering this internal world so that your external presence becomes pretty much an undeniable force. So there is still a certain type of fear for you there that you have to be able to work through so that that rebirth process that Pluto and Vesta would like you to do in the following year is gonna manifest in the bestest possible form. And most likely this is connected to finances with North Node and Saturn in your second house. And last but not least, Pisces rising sign. So you have got this new moon in your 11th house, while Phaeton is in your second, and Vesta Pluto cycle starts in the 12th house. So Diana and Astrea in your 11th house with this new moon is very focused on the long-term goals, on the long-term dreams. So maybe you are about to be connecting with a new tribe, or maybe you get finally the recognition you deserve for your loyalty, for example, to a group cause, or finally you are able to connect with a like an associations, a group of people that you have dreamt of being a part of. Phaeton squaring from the second house might warn you against spending money too fast or to fund a social project or a friend of yours and letting kind of like this sudden financial urge disrupt your long-term goals. It says don't let a get rich quick Aries impulse crash that stable Capricorn chariot of your vision, kind of get ruined basically. Western Pluto conjunction in your 12th house says that there is a focus on subconscious healing, or you are devoted to spirituality right now. You've got this internal fire, which is giving you a lot of strength to lead those 11th house goals, which is, of course, your dreams, your hopes. North Node is in your first house, which is pretty much showing that you have to be able to step into your own skin. You have to become visible this year. Ceres in your second house means that your body and your bank account is something that needs to be looked after, that needs a bit of a nurturing. So it really feels like that you are clearing out kind of like this psychic basement so you can build this new world for your community, for your people, so that finally you become a new version of yourself that you have always dreamt of. So, guys, this is a brief analysis on the upcoming new moon. I hope it helps, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.